Today on Arts for Life's virtual studio, we will be creating a fantasy farm painting. Stay tuned and I'll tell you what you need and walk you step by step. Let's get creating. Hi everyone, my name is Alison Griffin and I'm the Program Director of Arts for Life at Duke Children's Hospital. Welcome to our virtual studio, where we believe that art is for everyone. Today we will be making fantasy farm paintings. If you are a farmer and you lived in a world of your own creation, limited only by what you could imagine, what would you grow? Cotton candy, balloons, fairies, clouds, pencils. Think about what a farm that grows these things would look like. What color would things be? What shapes would the different things you grow be? I'll show you how we can create our very own fantasy farm. Here are the materials you will need for the lesson today. We'll need some watercolor paper or thick paper. We will need a pencil and a ruler. We will need a black permanent marker. And we'll need some colorful markers. I am going to use some colorful permanent markers, but you can use really any colorful marker that you'd like. We'll also need some paintbrushes and some watercolor paints. Now I am going to turn my camera around so I can show you how to get started. All right, so now that I have the camera turned around and you can see my workstation, I have all my materials laid out. I'm going to start with my watercolor paper and a pencil and a ruler. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure about 2.5 inches from the top of our paper. I'm going to draw a line across. This is going to be our horizon line. So our horizon line is where either water or land ends and the sky begins. So this is going to be our sky portion, and this is going to be our land and where our farm and our rows of crops will be. So now I am going to measure to the middle of my horizon line and draw a dot. This is going to be our vanishing point line. Now, in a perspective drawing, which is what we're drawing right now before we add our paint, this is where, on the horizon line, where all the different lines will go toward. And this is to create the illusion of depth and having the rows like they're continuing on and on into the distance. So now we're going to draw some diagonal lines from our vanishing point. So I'm actually going to draw the first one down the middle. And then from here, we're actually going to leave some room between our horizon line and our rows of crops. We're gonna do some area for just some greenery. So I am going to, let's see. I'm going to pick maybe the same on each side. About 2¼ inches. And I'm going to draw from my vanishing point. To there. And this will be our greenery. Now, in between these two sections, I'm going to try and get about 12 different rows. So I'm going to do about 6 on each side. So I am going to space out some lines there, and then let's see. Now I'm going to draw from my vanishing point to these different lines. All right, and for this one, I'm actually just gonna take my eraser and go over these. This one didn't line up to the vanishing point quite how I liked it, so we'll redo that one real quick. All right, so now that I've got my different crop sections, I'm going to take my black marker and I'm just going to draw a line tracing over this top line on either side. This is going to divide our crops from our grass section. And this horizon line is where we're going to put any trees or buildings or barns or fences for our farm. So if you want to go ahead and draw some of those, we can. I'm going to draw, this is going to look kind of like a house with a porch. So I'm just going to draw a longish rectangle and color that in. And then we're going to draw upwards. So this is going to be kind of like a house shape. We're going to color this in. If you want to do this with pencil first and then trace over, that's totally fine. Just your preference of what you prefer to do when you draw. And then here's just like a roof. I'm just going to add a little detail there. And then I'm going to bring this out just a little bit. And then here's kind of like a little awning. And then I'm going to draw some trees on this side. What kind of trees do you want to draw? There's so many different kinds that you can put on your farm. And then maybe a smaller tree. I'm just doing these curved out lines. And adding a tree trunk. And then I'm gonna have one that kind of comes off the page. It's got a large trunk. Just like that. And then on this side, I'm going to draw a little fence. And then maybe another building. We're coloring these all black. It's kind of giving it like a silhouette, so you don't have to do any detail. We're just going to color it in black. All right, we'll just add another building with a different shape and just color that in. All right, so now that we've drawn the different buildings and stuff on our horizon line, we are going to decorate our crops. Now we're going to keep these pencil lines. We're actually going to erase them in a little bit when we start painting, but I'm going to take a bunch of fun colors of markers and draw different patterns and designs for our crops, because remember, this is our fantasy farm. We can make up whatever we want as far as what we are planting. So I am just going to do different colors, and I'm going to do the same pattern all the way down each of my rows. So I'm just doing kind of like a zigzag. And then I think I'll do some circles. If you want to draw some that kind of go off to the side there. And maybe some stripes. And I just chose some bright colors, so I also thought about what colors my sky and my grass will be. So I'm going to do this green. So I wanted some colors that would stand out against the green, and then I'm going to paint my sky blue. So I chose some warmer colors to kind of help contrast the cool colors that are going to be up here. Let's see, maybe let's do some wavy lines coming down. Got a little bit more space toward the bottom, so I'm just going to go up until I run out of room. Like that. And then let's do some other zigzags. Just going all the way down the paper, but staying in this row. And then let's do another pattern. These almost kind of look like chicken prints. Like they've been walking on this path. And let's do a couple more. We can start doing the pattern over again. So we can do these zigzags coming out like this. And then some more circles. And some stripes. And some wavy lines. All right, so now that we have our Sharpies, our permanent marker down with our colors, it is time for some paint. So I am going to take my paints and I'm going to do similar colors to the colors I put down with my marker. So for this purple, it's kind of like a purpley blue, I'm going to paint over with a similar color. What colors did you choose to decorate your rows of crops with? And it shows up really nicely. Now you can take an eraser to erase these pencil lines, but you can't really see the pencil line once I've added the color paint. So I might just leave those there. Now, this is kind of a light orange color. So I am also going to go over it with a light orange color. Being careful to stay inside that area. And I'm going to do that for each of these different rows of crops. So I'm going to do yellow for the next one. And then we will do a pink for the next one. And a red. The red looks good on top of the red marker. And I would suggest, if you have permanent markers, using permanent markers to draw your patterns and designs, because they won't mix with the paint and the water. If you use a washable marker, you're gonna have that issue of when you add water, the marker is gonna spread. And we skipped over this purple one. We're gonna add some more water to thin out that paint so we can see our design that we drew. All right. These other ones are the same patterns as our crops that we did before, so we would just paint over the same. But I'll show you, I'm gonna add some green. This is gonna be kind of like the forest or grass before the rows of crops start. I'm gonna blend a bunch of different greens in there. And we will do that the same on this other side. All right, and then we can do blue above our horizon line. And it's okay if we go over this black marker. When it dries, it might be a little cloudy on top, but we can just go over that again with our marker. And again, this is why using permanent markers is the best option if you have them, because with this black, it could be getting in a lot of your paint if you're using washable markers. I'm gonna add a little darker blue above this light blue that I used. As I go up to the very top, I'm gonna continue adding darker blue. So I'm gonna add another blue. Above that. All right. So again, you would use your paint to continue painting these rows so you have something more similar to this. So you can see my paint has dried here. So I am going to take my black marker and I'm going to trace. You can draw over your buildings if you want to make them a little less cloudy. Use color. until you fill it in. You can do that, or you might like the look of the cloudy. It kind of makes it look like it's in the distance. Maybe there's like a fog. So it's really up to you. But here we have our finished fantasy farm painting. So now that we have our finished picture, I'm going to turn the camera back around. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Arts for Life virtual studio. I hope that you enjoyed creating with me today. Here is my finished fantasy farm painting. Yours may look different than mine, and that's okay, because yours looks wonderful too. If you'd like to show us what you made today, please feel free to post a picture in the comments below. And remember, art is for everyone.